Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 4 versus 4 on chemical, and I'm going to be playing with Rügener Gruppierung. Today the aim of the game is to show off as many of the new units as possible, so I set up a 4v4 on chemical, which is the ultimate grind map in this game, and I've set the conquest points needed to win to 4,000, so we're in for a fun game today. So definitely make sure to sit back, relax, get your favorite beverage and enjoy as my ragtag bunch of units gets underway. You can see we're being led by the ZPU2, backed up by the 25mm and the faster on the truck there. We've got a Fargo in the UAZ. We've got a bunch of T-55s. I've even got a Krug coming out at the start here with its huge missiles. Also, at the very front, 4 units of KSK. These are our Special Forces units. So they've got Special Forces trait, they've got the Shock trait, they've got the Airborne trait. So they're able to forward deploy very far forwards. Satchel Charge allows them to take care of enemy recon infantry at the start of the game that they bump into. And the RPG-18, good for dealing with those recon vehicles. The MiG-23 there of Farks making short work of the F4F as it flies over on the right-hand side. My 25mm are going to be getting shots towards the EH, 60A quick fix. That was a jammer helicopter, managing to shoot that down early on. Very handy indeed. So those two fastest going to continue to moving to the left-hand side. The two 25mm are going to stay to the right. Got 3 T-55s coming down this road. They're going to try and help deal with the M3A1 Bradley. And I've got another 3 coming down the left side that's going to be able to help engage the infantry from a distance. But the M1A1 ACAV here on the right is flanking around. We almost get the kill on the Bradley. Unfortunately, it's going to smoke off. Now, since the dismount troopers don't manage to get in cover in good time, and they don't really want to run onto the KSK, they are going to get mown down. But here comes that M1A1 ACAV. Nice flank by Vector here. Is going to get some good shots into those tanks. The side armor not enough to save them from the one-shots. So all 3 tanks going down very quickly as I try and fast move the last one behind cover. Bradley's still providing a bit of fire support there alongside the mechanized rifles with the Dragon. So gonna have to move these T-55s up to put some more threat onto those units. M1A1 ACAV did manage to take out another one of my trucks. These AA though, I'm not too concerned about losing them. They only cost 35 points at the end of the day. But the double KSK coming back to get those RPG-18s on target. And as I hit it enough times, it does rout, show side armor, and we take it out. Su-22 was brought in just in case. Dealing with heavy tanks is very difficult for this division, but F-16 coming overhead. Time for the Krug to fire away. I miss it with my missile, but Farks doesn't on my right side. F-16 goes down to this Krug right here. Very awesome to see those missiles fire away. They look absolutely awesome. Anyway, Hamad's trying to put pressure onto my support squads, the Strela 2M and the Fargo. So my 25mm truck is just blasting away, trying to take them off the rooftops. And we'll slowly but surely finish off the Heimatschützen. And when these 25mm are firing, and also the ZPU in particular when that's firing, it sounds awesome. I really, really like the sound on that thing. Very loud though. T-55s actually managing to get a better of a couple of Unimogs here. Now also pinning the infantry out in the open. KSK going to come under fire from the engineers with the flash launcher, which is one thing they're not really going to be able to beat unless they manage to get right on top of them. So just trying to run away as quickly as possible. Heimats do get finished off, and I'm going to be backing myself up with more Modschützen. So Modschützen on the way with these SPW-70s, the KPVT and the PKT machine gun. Always very handy to have as fire support behind those pretty nice squads. A lot of the East German infantry is resolute, which means that they don't take as much suppression. Really, really handy to have. So the KSK, leading the way in this engagement, actually did a fantastic job. Forward deploying infantry like this that doesn't have any AA can be extremely risky, but in a shorter map like Chemical, I believed that the 25mm trucks were close enough that they'd be able to back me up against any sort of Cobras and such if I were to bump into those. And now being used as fire support to help finish off the engineers, the Mudschützen, moving into position. You can see there the resolute trait making them take less suppression in combat. Really unfortunate for me, both these T-55s missed their close range shots onto the M1A1 Abram, otherwise we would have been able to do some significant damage with the first one potentially hitting the side armor, but instead we're now under threat. The AH-1F Cobra, potential to get more rockets onto the Mudschützen. M728 CEV and M1A1 Abrams going to be tough for me to deal with unless I can get more tanks on target. Now, yeah, when it comes to dealing with heavier tanks, the only real way you can do it is with lots of HGMs. Maybe your T-72 is going to overwhelm them, but it requires a lot of points. And then finally, it's going to be like the Mi-14 with like the 30% accurate AT missile on its wing. And then there's also the Su-22s, of course. But yeah, none of those are really like reliable options. So you do get put under a lot of threat when a heavy tank turns up. And this M1A1 Abrams is certainly just that. So trying to get some Conkers into position now so that we can start throwing HGMs at it. And when the HGMs start firing, we can start moving up with the T-55. So Mi-2 is also now joining the front. My AA wasn't quite in position to help with these aircraft just yet. They're slowly creeping through the tree line. And there we go. Twin 25mm engaging the tow Cobra here. Going to take it down very quickly indeed. Also managed to get a really nice side shot with the Conkers onto the M1A1. Take out the EH-68 quick fix. Unfortunately, F4F going to be able to take down one of the helicopters. Managed to get it pretty low, so I won't be coming back for a little while. But now it's a matter of just my Conkers trying to hold this position. Now the Leopard 2A3 across the river here will take some serious damage from my Conkers, even in the front armor, because it only has 16 front armor and the Conkers has 20 penetration. So hoping for a couple more successful hits, although the AH-1F Cobra is going to spoil the fun there as it takes out both the Conkers and will finish off the Mudschützen. The T-55s and the SPW-70 still dealing damage to the Heimatz and dismount troopers, so not doing too bad at the moment against this 11th Armoured Cavalry Regiment. M1A1 creeping forwards there, misses its shot on the T-55, Conkers finishes the job, so that's good for me. And as you can see, I have brought up the SPW-60 here, Commander, to contest this sector, because overall, unfortunately, things are not going too well. We've lost this right sector completely for the time being, and the left side is contested, whilst we're not contesting their right side. So they are sitting on the +5 overall. But I'm just hoping that I can kill off any command units here in order to fully secure this side of Chemical, and then we've kind of got this like 50-50 going on here. So I do manage to do that. The Ultisführungs goes down, and we're going to be cancelling out their lead as I fully capture this sector. So Tornado IDS being shot at by the Krug. The Krug here with its own supply, the Ural nearby. You can also see that I have invested into a couple of the 120mm mortars. These are going to be providing consistent fire support onto enemy infantry and potentially smoke if I need it. Especially in situations where there might be like a lot of heavy tanks, you could probably try and swarm them with infantry using smoke. But T-55 AM Meridas coming in now. The first Polish tanks in the game. 130 points. 2,275 meter range gun with 60% accuracy. They do have smoke, which is very nice. Basically just a kitted out T-55. And those are going to be quite strong at close range because they're going to scale their gun pretty fast. The penetration's going to go up a lot because of the 2,275 meter range. So just trying to soften up some units in the corner here. I was hoping maybe I could get another command into this sector by putting one sort of in the corner here, but I need to clean out all of the units in this position. Got the Conkers here that were hoping to take out any infantry and vehicles that were coming across this bridge. But so far we haven't really had much luck of moving up onto this location. There is the Kiowa back here with the Hellfire missiles, so the T-55s do need to be very careful not to reveal themselves to that helicopter. And a lack of sort of AA being like in line of sight of these helicopters was really something that was stinging me. And I think the main reason that it did was just because I was having a hard time sort of identifying that these were AA. Like when you zoom out and you look at this, it's very hard to see that those are AA, those W50s with the twin 25 mils on the back of them, because one of those would be able to take down the Kiowa with 4 health pretty easily, unless the Hellfire just like hits the mark very quickly. I've got one of these SBW50 PKs with the MRF system on it. So what this is a rocket that fires out a tube, and in that tube is multiple explosives, and they will blow up in a line. It's pretty decent at taking out individual infantry squads, but it really doesn't do much to enemy armor. F-16 laser guided bomb there, hitting the mark, but here goes the MRF. And you can see there the explosion that it makes as we manage to whittle down both of the infantry squads that are in that tree line. The KSK still providing good recon. Unfortunately, the Mudschützen here getting overwhelmed by the number of martyrs and the infantry that comes with them. But as a team, we're currently still sitting on the +1, which is nice. Fortunately, T-55 takes a hit, and the second one does from the M1A1, so both of those are going to have to retreat. Thankfully, the second one didn't get its cohesion low enough that it couldn't use smoke. Mudschützen are going to have to do a runner, although in this case what I do is I just had them come out the back door and chill there, so that they can potentially still use their RPG against any vehicles that come nearby. So Abrams coming in at close range. Unfortunately, the T-55 misses the shot there, but you can see even that T-55 AM Melida with only 14 penetration managed almost half the health of an M1A1 at close range, and that is mainly due to that 2,275 meter range. There goes the MRF once again. This thing does reload pretty quickly, so if you're on point with your micro, you can get quite a lot of shots from it throughout the game. But more T-55 AM Melodies coming in, and the main way that I thought I'd be able to win these sorts of engagements at the moment here would be for me to just kind of overwhelm the enemy APCs and infantry with these tanks. But unfortunately in this case, Leopard 2A3 is certainly going to outmatch my T-55s, and that's going to prevent me from getting the leader into the corner of this sector, as both Tommy and Vector are bringing in units here to take us on. On the right side, Mi-14 goes down. That's my Mi-14 with its 30% missile, but Krug hits the mark and takes down the F-16 with the laser-guided bomb. So we are trading. Panzerjäger's now coming in to support these Mudschützen in a push into the enemy sector, and that way I can then get the Polish leader here into position. This is the first leader unit to have a smoke grenade. I think it's actually the first infantry unit in the game to have a smoke grenade. Nice tornado cluster there, actually hits the mark very well. Stops me from fixing up all of those infantry squads. T-55 Bandida going down to the 2A3. T-55 getting picked off by the F-16. Krug hits the mark once again. There's Krug back here this time. Absolutely smashing that out of the sky. So this was the Mi-14 that got taken down before. This one going to be suffering the same fate. I just wanted to show you guys the stats on that, but we weren't allowed. At least the F-16A8 paid for its life with the Krug there hitting the mark once again. You can see I've also finally got some of these trucks coming up once again with the twin 25mm and the faster. So my infantry did manage to get into position. Unfortunately, just a bit too much here still. The Chem Warriors, Martyrs are just hanging out on the corner, and it's just going to make it very difficult for me to get into those buildings. So instead I decide to unload these Polish infantry in the corner and then use smoke to cover them off just for the time being, so that we maintain a +1 advantage throughout the game. Another aircraft coming in. The Krug, this one, it's out of ammo, so it won't be fired at. This one I managed to turn off in time, so neither of the Krugs getting taken out because of that. And the Strela 2Ms actually managed to hit the mark, which was quite remarkable, since these only have like 45% accuracy. And then that F-16 also has the ECM on top, so yeah, pretty lucky with those infrared shots. A really good kill for us, because it is going to enable me to use the Krugs a lot more liberally throughout the game. SPW-50 PK once again firing towards enemy infantry. Merida looking for a shot onto the M1A1, but unfortunately doesn't fire soon enough. It doesn't have an auto-loader, so because it was low on cohesion, it's slowing down its rate of fire, and that's allowed the Abrams to get the shot off first, which has a base rate of fire of 10 as it is, so always going to beat you in that scenario. Got to be careful with that. Mochitson, KSK trying to get the frontal kill with the launchers there. Now I'm just going to bring in a bunch of Konkers to defend the line here. We've also got some Sicherungs on the way. We've got the Panzerjägers moving up. Panzerjägers, I feel like, are pretty necessary in this division, just because they provide you with a unit that is reliable for killing enemy armor at close range. They have RPG 7VRs that, whilst they only have 500 meter range, do have 65% accuracy and 20 penetration. So if you get on top of an enemy tank, especially in like a forested engagement, you're going to be able to take them out quite reliably. So that's always nice. F4F flying overhead. I really love it on Chemical when you have all of these AA pieces on the island and they're firing up into these aircraft, and it gives you those like the proper Statue of Liberty vibes from War and Conflict. Mochitson unfortunately getting taken out pretty quickly soon after, as the enemy forces start to build up against me. Enemy helicopters, though, still having a real bad time, and that is certainly something that this division seems to be very good against, is enemy helicopters, thanks to its fast trucks with the faster and the 25mm guns on them. It is somewhat unreliable against enemy aircraft, because as soon as your Krugs go down, you are left with a reliance on infrared AA, so that is certainly something you have to be careful of. That's why I was paying so much attention to turning on and off my radar. It's pretty important in this scenario. Panzerjäger, I was just mentioning how they're reliable in taking out enemy tanks at close range, and they just miss so many RPGs there. That was mainly due to the fact they're under fire from both the Panzerkrans further back, the Marder and the M1A1. But we are able to take out the M728 CEV at least. Alouette goes down to my manpad as well. So we're still taking units with us, but we're slowly getting whittled down here. Really hoping that my Konkers can finish the job on the M1A1, and they do manage to do so. SPW-60, PB and the Sigerunds looking for the engagement with the Panzer Grenadiers. Now, since they've changed the composition of the Citadungs here to 6 rifles, MG and RPG-18, they're actually a lot better as sort of like initial opening units, but in terms of engaging enemy infantry, they don't do as well as they used to do. T-72s on the way. As you can see, in this engagement, I was floating a few points, so now investing a bunch of those points into T-72s, and we're going to just try and wipe out all of these forces that are trying to presently put a lot of pressure onto my lines. So Tommy's Marder 1A2s here in a very bad spot, but the Kiowa coming up here with the Hellfire is going to cause my T-72s problems, so we're going to have to back off. The T-72s, they don't have smoke built on them because they're the standard variant, so the Hellfire could have a very good time if I'm not careful. Oh, this is a really nice helicopter. Big fan of this one. Mi-8TB has those 57mm rockets, 12.7mm machine gun, and Malyotka HGMs. Really strong helicopter due to its recon capability. So it's able to spot these infantry squads for itself and just unleash all of those rockets onto them. Anything that I'm not killing with the rockets, though, the T-72s can clean up, and the Conquer's still in a good position here to help try and take out the Leopard 2A3, but you see my attempt to put the infantry in the corner here ended with those getting bombed and artied and so on. Now the nice thing about this engagement for me is because the SBW-60 PUM is just kind of sitting behind this building, it's actually providing leadership to all of the units that come nearby, and it's making a lot of these very effective, like particularly like the Strelers, the Conquers. Very nice indeed. Leopard 2A3, their leader, actually getting wiped out very quickly as the T-72s get close up. But here comes enemy aircraft. F-16 does manage to take down a T-72 with its missile, but the Krugs hitting the mark, knocking that straight out of the sky. Just about managed to get the splits, so I only lose one T-72 to that Tornado IDS cluster. Conquers getting on target again. These buildings are really good. They had fantastic line of sight here for these engagements. T-72 in this case, it does have an autoloader when you compare it to the T-55, which means it doesn't lose its rate of fire for having bad cohesion. The A8 hitting the mark on the Cobra does remove that threat, just in time for my mod Schutzen to arrive and start pushing forwards themselves. More W50 with the twin 25mm arriving, and yeah, things going actually pretty well for me, in the sense that whilst I am being contested here, it is trading very well for me. We're up against Victor and Tommy, and we're managing to take quite a lot of men with us when we're losing our own troops. And particularly considering there's a lot of these heavy tanks around, I didn't feel like we were doing too bad. You see the T-72s kind of struggle in those engagements to really deal enough damage at range to kill those off. And unless you get on top of those tanks with the RPGs, you're having a real bad time. Here's one of the new units. The PTSM. It comes with 1,500 supply, and in this case just moving it over to the right hand side a little bit more so that the Conquers could get reloaded to take on the M1A1 Abrams. Again, faster, making short work of the BO-105. These helicopters, if they get in range of my A8, do go down very quickly indeed. Lovely snipe there from the T-72. Now the SBW-70 is being used in their role to take out enemy infantry. And you'll see that I'm keeping these SPW-70s for the most part in positions where they can engage enemy infantry without being fired on themselves, because you can see that the Armada 1A2 here, as soon as they get in line of sight, is going to kill them off very quickly indeed. MI2 is managing to chip quite a lot of infantry there. I've also got another MI8 TB coming up to spot the leader that might be putting pressure into the corner of that sector. So Kaya, we're going down. Another one bites the dust. Another helicopter taken out. My SPW 50PK with the MRF system. Just looking for a nice building to hide behind so that I can get some shots on target. Here come the Marine Pioneers. These are chunkier squads that should help me deal with enemy infantry, but I'm really struggling with the ability to take care of all of these armored vehicles. There's like Martyrs everywhere because Chem Warrior is fighting on the right side here. Tommy is assisting Vector on the left, so unfortunately my T-55s, my T-72s, they're slowly but surely running out, and it's meaning that I'm struggling for fire support. Like, my own infantry can't really come in with decent APCs to support them. You are very reliant on the tank tab to make that possible. So get those unloaded anyway. 2 Marine Pioneers, 2 Panzerjägers, hoping that if I can get close range with the Leopard 2A3s and these Marder Milans, that the Panzerjägers can just wipe them out. What I am going to do is we're going to focus on using the Su-20s, so the Polish Su-20s coming in with those cluster munitions, the Su-22 coming over the top as well. Unfortunately missed its missile onto the 2A3. But the Su-20 did at least manage to kill off the 3 Marders there, which had infantry inside, so that was really nice. The one on the left kind of missed the mark on the 2A3, but we do manage to kill an M1A1 Abrams on the far left here at least. That's good, and as I mentioned, we are going to continue to trade in this engagement. So Marine Pioneers now trying to push aggressively onto the Jäger-Aufkada. Try and open up a position where the Panzerjägers can get in and start unleashing their RPGs on targets. The T-55s are coming up to try and support this engagement, but the Marder 1A3 Milans, they do have that Milan AGM, so able to do significant damage to the T-55s if the T-55s don't kill them fast enough. So Marine Pioneer is going to keep helping us take out infantry at close range. Panzerjäger hoping to get shots on target here. We managed to take out the Marder 1A3 at least. Mi-8 TBs making short work of enemy Panzer Grenadiers. But Harrier GR3 does bomb out the remaining infantry on the right side here, so we're going to lose those. I've got a second leader in here. The C-55AK was more there to just support other tanks as I was making attacks, not necessarily to capture the sector itself. It's always good, I guess, to have a second unit available to contest a sector. Great kill for the MRF, taking out the Jägerführer. And this is where the MRF is really good. Like, this thing has only 1,750 meter range, so in order to use it effectively, you need to have lots of buildings that you can use as cover to get closer, or you want to be in a forest where the line of sight is so limited that you can then move it up more aggressively. 25mm AA, going to take out another recon helicopter. That was something that we continuously managed to do well throughout the game. It's another support weapon you can use to assist your pushes, the Mi-2. In this case I'm using them more defensively, kind of placing them just behind my lines so that if enemy infantry pushes forwards, the Mi-2s will open up and kill off the enemy nice and quickly. Unfortunately, my PTS is going to be driving straight towards enemy artillery. Does end up getting wiped out. Really bad timing for me that, because they'd spotted the SPW-50 PK and started aiming at it. Since I've ran out of Conkers, we're going to be opting to go for the Fargo instead. And if I bring in enough of those, we can overwhelm these tanks with those ATGMs to continue to trade well. 120 mils, looking for chip damage onto the Jaeger there. Another lovely hit though from the Krug as we take down the F4 FAT. Yeah, these Krugs, they were actually doing very well. F-16 Seed getting hit by one of those as well. Very cool. The Marine Pioneers continuing their engagement against the Heimat's, trying to get the Fargo ATGMs on target of the Leopard 1A5s. Managing to take out one of them there. These two are going to be engaging the 2A4. Even if I can't kill them, taking their cohesion really low will give potential for infantry to push forwards. I was at this moment where I probably could have maybe invested really heavily into infantry and made like a smoke push towards these tree lines. But just letting the HGMs do their work. And we took out the Jag, we took out the 1A5s, 2A4s forced back for the time being. Unfortunately, due to those HGMs being targeted, the SPW-60 is also taking damage. So I am going to lose that. And we are going to lose the contest on this sector. So currently the opposing team doing very well in score. They're on 2,300 points. We're only on 487. Losing the contest on this sector is only going to increase that. Mi-8TB still providing good supports with its rockets, especially onto units like these engineers when they're only like 5 strength squads. Quite easy to take them out. Leopard 2A4 still hitting the mark quite reliably, even though it was low on cohesion. SPW-50 PK targeting the same location for those engineers as well. You can also see that they reload very quickly. Like the supply cost for these is 200, which isn't like a crazy amount, but you can get through supply quite quickly if you're microing them a lot. Anyway, in this situation, we're going to go for the smoke into the center instead, just to see if we can continue to contest this. I've got the SPW 60 PUM coming up here anyway, so we'll contest that. We'll try and get a leader in here to contest that. And then it's going to be really up to my Polish infantry that's now arriving to take the fight to the enemy. So the Topaz 2A is now moving up here with that Piotr Smech in it. Probably absolutely butchered that. Apologies. Mi-8s taken out by the Gepard 1A1s. Mi-2 also going to suffer the same fate. But here goes the smoke. So the plan here with the smoke, keep the leader alive, but also potentially allow the Moschützen to push into these buildings and secure sort of a foothold in this sector. Because it seemed at this point that we'd whittled down the forces opposing us quite substantially. You know, we're not being put under a lot of pressure here on the left-hand side now, so if I can continue to put on pressure with my infantry, then we'll be in a good spot, hopefully. But then again, there's only 6 minutes left on the clock, and contesting this is only a +1. Capturing it entirely, that's a +4. My infantry here gonna unload defensively on the left. Main reason being I just want to try and keep this SPW 60 PUM alive whilst I focus on the engagement on this right side. So I am bringing up an SBU-2 with the Strela 2M. Mutchison have managed to get quite far up, and the leader's slowly working its way towards some buildings here so that it has a bit more cover. Marine Pioneers and my infantry, the Polish infantry, struggling in this situation. The M728 CEVs, not a massive fan of those personally, but if two of these hit the same target, they are going to be chunking an infantry squad pretty hard. Tornado IDS coming in with the cluster once again. Managed to just about dodge that with the leader. And it does go down this time around. So Mi-14's in play. The KH-23 missile, 35% accurate, stationary thanks to the one vet. 30 penetration means it will do a lot of damage to things like the 2A3 and the M1A1 Abrams. You just got to be careful with these. They don't just randomly fire at a target you don't want them to hit. In this case I'm going to be purposefully targeting the 1A5, but that is going to miss. The other thing that you can do with these is because they have a perfect stabilizer, 35% stationary, 35% on the move, you can just like fly them towards a target, let them fire the missile. If it misses, just immediately maintain the momentum and head back to your fob to get them reloaded ASAP. These units getting forced out of here is going to get them killed to the Leopard on the far side of the river. Both of those trucks going down, unfortunately. And what I felt like would be a decent defense for me ended up getting crumbled very fast. And the reason that happened is because all these buildings collapsed. Where they've been under fire a lot, eventually they collapse, and then that does a significant amount of damage to the units that were inside them. So now what I'm going to do, in order to get rid of this blob of armor, I'm going to try and hit them with the Polish Su-20s. This one, I changed too late. It is going to get shot down. The right one certainly hit the mark. The left one, if it had targeted this tree line sooner, could have got a huge amount of kills. It was not to be. Mi-14 trying again. This time does hit the 1A5. So a good kill, and you can see that after every missile, because they only get one, I'm going to have to just fly that back to the fob and then fly it back to the front. I could maybe bring up a supply here and just like land it, take it off, fire again, land it, take off, fire again. Like, they're not very expensive, they're only 30 supply costs, so you could chain that. But the difficulty is these AA pieces encroaching on my position. I won't want to be here for too much longer, especially with the Semi-8 TB going down. So the Stingers potentially going to cause me issues, so I'm going to try and take those out with the SPW-60s. Another Topaz 2A coming in with more Polish infantry. On the left side, just going to be popping a couple of Aufkläder there to hold the line, but things certainly getting light in my deck. Still maintaining the +1 thanks to my leader continuing to contest this sector, but unfortunately unlikely to be able to get back to the score in time, and we are slowly but surely getting overwhelmed by a combination of Vectors and Tommy's forces. Just kind of run out of reliable ways to kill heavy tanks. Mi-14 goes for the hit onto the M1A1 in the front armor. You can see the 30 was not enough, the 30 penetration. Su-22 had to finish the job. I was hoping the Mi-14 could hit the Gepard 1A1. Did manage to stun it at least. Rügener looking for a shot onto the F-16. Down it goes. Those missiles are just incredible. The fact you can one-shot an aircraft with them is just insane. But it, of course, is rolling RNG quite a lot. In this case, this Krug's actually elite now, so it's got 45% while stationary. I think it maybe upvetted once, and then the SPW-60 is providing it with the third. Because I have them coming in at base 1 veterancy anyway. The VVT Jeep's going to be attempting to put down some fire. ZPU-2's trying to deal with the mechanized rifles here. These really weren't as good against enemy infantry as I hoped they would be. I'm still going to chip this over time, but yeah, I do feel like those should do more damage. On the left-hand side here, I did bring in the MiG-23 with the KMGU cluster. Didn't manage to hit anything with that. But that's going to be game. There it is. Good old chemical. Providing us with a nice grind of a game to show off all of those units. In the end, 11,860 kills to 9,505 losses, a 1.25 KD ratio, but a lot of kills. A lot of kills. The KSK, really good job early on. The T-55s actually did pretty well for themselves as well early on before the majority of the heavy tanks started coming in. You can see the Krug's kills here. So one of them scored 4 kills, one of them scored 3 kills, which does pay themselves off quite nicely. The Faster getting multiple kills as well, including an aircraft, the F-16 Seed going down to the Faster 4 on the back of that truck. Conker's actually a lifesaver in this situation. If there was more tube artillery on the enemy side, those HGMs would have had a real hard time. Mi-8TB, good amount of kills against enemy infantry, ended up friendly firing there as well. T-72s actually did okay when they came in. The Su-20s, nice cluster strike onto the Marder 103. We actually managed to get away with that. Second time round, unfortunately, kind of missed the mark. If it hit the mark, that could have been really good for us. That being said, the game was already over at that point, so probably wouldn't have mattered. But yeah, really fun stuff. It's not always about winning. It's about showing off all those awesome units, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.